Some stories are so strange, so unsettling, that you would think they came straight out of a horror movie. What you're about to hear is one of those stories. Bizarre, chilling, and almost unbelievable. It's about a young woman called Kemi, living an ordinary life, completely unaware that something evil was working against her in the shadows. This is not just a tale of bad luck or coincidence. It's a story of hidden forces, dark rituals, and a shocking discovery that will leave you questioning everything. Buckle up, because once you hear this, you might start looking over your own shoulders too. If you love mystery stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any future stories. Let's get into it. On August 25th, Kemi stared at the old photograph in her trembling hands. Her face, her smiling face, was on a small wooden shrine surrounded by melted black candles and what looked like dried animal bones. Her breath caught in her throat as Mama Ireti leaned closer and whispered, "This is why your life has been falling apart." Now let me take you back to before Kemi got to this point. Kemi Adebanjo had what most people would call a good life. She came from a normal family in the southwestern part of Nigeria and was raised by her middle-class parents in Lagos. She went to secondary school and university in Lagos, Nigeria, and at age 29, she ran a successful interior design business in Lagos. She had also a loving fiancé named Dapo and was excitedly planning their wedding for December. But just like any young person living in Lagos, Nigeria, things were not perfect. She had her fair share of stress. You know, the normal Nigerian stress now. But she prided herself on being hardworking and self-reliant. She had a good life. Not too much drama or anything to write home about, and she was seriously looking forward to her wedding day. But then, everything just changed. It started slowly. It wasn't anything sudden that would usually alarm somebody. As an interior decorator, she really valued her high-end customers because they were her bread and butter. So you can imagine how she felt when one of her long-term high-paying customers suddenly backed out of a major project with absolutely no explanation. Kemi just came to work one Tuesday, opened her laptop to start her day, and saw this strange email from her client. There was no explanation. The client just wrote, "It's not personal. We're going in a different direction and do not need your services anymore." Kemi could not believe it. This was one of her first and best customers, and they have had absolutely no issues. She quickly grabbed her phone and called the CEO, who was friendly with her, but he didn't pick up. She tried a couple more times before giving up, but she made a mental note to go to their office first thing the next day to sort out all of these things. She did go, but they insisted that her services were no longer needed. Well, since they bluntly refused to renew the contract, Kemi left them alone. She consoled herself that she still had other high-paying clients. Life would go on, she thought to herself. And life did go on. But only a week later, another major client cancelled a project that Kemi had already completed 50% off, just out of the blues. Again, without any explanation. This time around, Kemi demanded for an explanation from the client, but they just said they were cutting certain projects and hers was one of the ones that they were cutting, and that it was not anything personal. Kemi was stunned. What was happening to her business? But Kemi was in for some more shock, because within 2 months, she lost 60% of her major clientele, and none of them gave her any solid reasons for why they no longer wanted to work with her. In desperation, Kemi stayed up all night for 3 days going over the details of all those projects, trying to see if the figures were wrong or if there was something wrong with her projections or materials. She was looking for something without even knowing what she was looking for, and she found nothing. Her books were clean and her projects were top-notch, so she found no explanation for this sudden move of her clients. Or were they talking to each other? Kemi worried. Would she lose all her clients? She didn't know what to expect anymore. A week later, Kemi was rushing to meet a 9 a.m. appointment with a potential client she had been chasing for months. This prospect had finally agreed to meet, and Kemi, for once in weeks, was very excited. That morning, she made sure that she was very well dressed. She got in her car and sped off to the Third Mainland Bridge in Lagos. Everything was going well, and she was listening to some gospel music on her car radio when she noticed that the car was slowing down. Kemi thought. She just had this car serviced 2 weeks ago now. What could be wrong? Kemi started praying under her breath because even a 5-minute delay could mean that she would miss her appointment, and she definitely didn't want that. But the harder she prayed, the slower the car became until it finally sputtered to a stop, right there in the Third Mainland Bridge. I cannot begin to explain Kemi's confusion to you. She sat in silence for a moment, trying not to cry. Eventually, she composed herself and called Wasiu, her mechanic. Wasiu said he was with a customer, but he can be there in an hour. An hour? Kemi screamed, finally giving in to her emotions. Yes, Wasiu said, but madam, I go try come quick. That day, Kemi missed the much anticipated appointment with that prospect, and that was how she lost that project. And funny enough, when Wasiu finally came and checked the car, he was baffled. Madam, nothing is wrong with this car, he said after tinkering with the car for almost 30 minutes. He decided to try the car again, and it started just like that. It was the most baffling thing to both Kemi and the mechanic. Kemi went back home that day, drained and stressed. She was crying under her breath on the ride home, and by now she had this huge headache which developed over the next few weeks into constant migraines. You know those sharp, pulsating headaches that makes it hard to concentrate? Yes, those ones. She never used to have such migraines before. She visited multiple doctors, but no one could explain what was wrong with her. This was when Kemi started thinking, what is wrong with me? What kind of bad luck is this? Kemi, being the strong person that she is, just said to herself, well, life happens, and she moved on. But as the weeks turned into months, it became clear to her that this was more than just a streak of misfortune. And then the icing on the cake happened. Her relationship with Dapo began to strain under the weight of her constant stress and misfortune. At first, Dapo was very supportive, telling her to relax and that all would be well. She would call him, he would come, and he did everything he could to make Kemi feel better. But he had his own struggles at work too, and before long, he started getting irritated with Kemi's constant complaints of one bad luck or another. He didn't need this extra stress, and he started worrying if marrying Kemi would mean that he has to inherit this her streak of bad luck. God forbid, he thought to himself. He loved Kemi, but they started arguing a lot, and small arguments turned into shouting matches. And one night, Dapo just stormed out of Kemi's house after an explosive fight over nothing, and he refused to pick her calls after that. A couple that were already planning wedding, Even Kemi's friendships began to feel off. Yewande, her closest friend since childhood, suddenly seemed unusually cold and distant. Kemi would call or text, and Yewande would reply with short, clipped messages as if she was irritated. Kemi found it odd because she and Yewande used to text back and forth far into the night sometimes. They told each other everything, but suddenly it felt like everyone around her was slipping away. It was during this period that the dreams started. Every night, Kemi would have the same dream. She saw a shadowy figure standing over a small wooden shrine, and on the shrine, she saw her photograph. She even remembered taking that picture, but she was not sure where the photo was. The shadowy figure's hand moved methodically, tying strings around the picture and muttering words that Kemi couldn't understand. In the dream, Kemi would try to scream, but no sound would come out. She would wake up, drenched in sweat, her heart racing. She didn't know what to make of this dream. And at first, she had the dream maybe once a week, but now she seemed to have this dream every other day. Kemi knew this dream meant something, but what? One morning, Kemi woke up and noticed something strange. She had this framed photograph of her and Dapo on her bedside table, but that day, she noticed that the photo was missing. Strange. She lived alone, so who could have moved it? She searched everywhere but couldn't find it. She became confused. Had she moved it? Had Dapo taken it? She sent a text message to Dapo asking if he took the picture, but he responded, "No, I didn't take it." That night, Kemi had that dream again, but this time it felt more vivid. She could see that missing photograph on the shrine, the same photograph she was looking for, and it was surrounded by melted candles and bones. When she woke up, she was scared, and she decided to go and tell Yewande, her best friend, about the dreams and the missing photograph. She drove to Yewande's that evening. Yewande was surprised to see her, but welcomed her in, and to her surprise, when she told Yewande about the dreams, Yewande didn't dismiss her concerns. "I have heard of things like this," Yewande said cautiously. "It might sound crazy, but you should see Mama Ireti." Kemi paused for a second. She knew Mama Ireti. Mama Ireti was a traditional healer known for her wisdom and uncanny ability to uncover hidden truths. Her home was a small, unassuming bungalow on the outskirts of Lagos. She used to live in their neighborhood when they were kids before she moved away. Everyone knew Mama Ireti. Kemi decided to go see her. You didn't need an invitation to see Mama Ireti. Her doors were always open and people were always going in and out. Kemi made arrangements to go there the next day after work. The moment Kemi stepped inside Mama Ireti's house, she felt an unsettling energy. The air was thick with the smell of herbs and incense, and the walls were lined with shelves of strange objects, cowrie shells, jars of dried leaves, and carved wooden statues. Mama Ireti listened patiently as Kemi explained everything. The string of bad luck events, the headaches and migraines, the clients she was losing, the dreams, and now the missing photograph. When Kemi finished, Mama Ireti nodded slowly. Looking Kemi straight in the eye, she said slowly, "Someone has placed a curse on you. Your photograph is on an evil altar. This is not a coincidence. Someone close to you is behind this." Kemi's stomach churned. Someone close to her? What do you mean? "I mean exactly what I said," Mama Ireti replied. "This person could be a friend, a relative, or even a colleague. Someone who envies you or feels wronged by you is behind this." Mama Ireti would say no more and dismiss Kemi to go and ponder what she had just learned. Kemi left Mama Ireti's house feeling both skeptical and terrified. The idea of someone deliberately sabotaging her life was hard to believe, but she couldn't deny that something was very wrong. She began to think about her relationships. Who could be behind this? Was it Yewande, who had seemed distant lately? Or her cousin Tolu, who had always been jealous of her success? Her mind kept circling back to her late father's sister, Auntie Bosede. There had always been tension between Auntie Bosede and Kemi's mother. Auntie Bosede had often complained about how Kemi's father had inherited the family business while she had been left with nothing. Kemi decided to do some deep introspection to be more observant of the people in her life. Kemi decided to visit Auntie Bosede under the pretense of checking in on her. She didn't know what to look for when she got there, but she went all the same and decided to trust her instinct. Auntie Bosede welcomed Kemi and offered her something to drink, but Kemi politely refused. She had made up her mind not to eat or drink when she got there. However, during the visit, she noticed something odd when she was looking round the living room. She saw a photograph of herself tucked away on a shelf, partially hidden behind a vase, like someone had hurriedly thrown it there. "Why do you have my picture, Auntie?" Kemi asked, trying to keep her voice light. Auntie Bosede smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "What kind of question is that, Kemi? Are you not my niece? I have pictures of you now. Is there a problem?" Kemi shook her head slowly. "No problem, Auntie," she said, but she felt quite uncomfortably, and she left shortly after. She wanted to also visit her cousin and Yewande to test her instincts, but she changed her mind and she decided to go back to Mama Ireti. That night, she returned to Mama Ireti's house and begged her to help her break this curse. Mama Ireti asked her if she was sure, and she said, "Yes, ma, I am sure." "The first thing we need to do," Mama Ireti said, "is to locate the altar." So that night, they performed a ritual to locate the altar. Through chants and prayers, Mama Ireti revealed the location of the curse: Auntie Bosede's house. "Ha! I knew it! I knew it," Kemi thought. "I knew it! I will confront her. She must tell me what this is." "Be careful, my daughter," Mama Ireti said to Kemi. "Be very careful." The next day, Kemi enlisted the help of Yewande, her friend, to confront Auntie Bosede. At first, Yewande declined, saying that she was busy and she didn't want to get involved. But Kemi insisted that she could not do this without her best friend and that she really needed her help. After much begging, Yewande reluctantly agreed to accompany Kemi to Auntie Bosede's house. When they got there, Kemi pointedly asked Auntie Bosede what she had done to her that made her to place a curse on her, the niece that she claimed to love. At first, Auntie Bosede denied everything. But when Kemi told her the details that had been revealed by Mama Ireti and threatened to involve the family and community elders, Auntie Bosede was shocked at the details Kemi knew. She eventually broke down and confessed. She confessed that she had been working with Kemi's trusted assistant, Tola. Tola had been the one assisting to ensure that client accounts were compromised so that they no longer trusted Kemi with their projects. Tola, being Kemi's assistant, sometimes had access to Kemi's house, and she had also been the one that had stolen the framed photograph from Kemi's bedroom and given it to Auntie Bosede, who had used it for the curse. Tola even took pieces of Kemi's clothing and gave to Auntie Bosede as well. Kemi listened with shock and amazement as Auntie Bosede confessed. "Tola envied you," Auntie Bosede said bitterly, "and I just wanted you to suffer like I did when your father took everything from me." Kemi was speechless. Tola, the quiet, hard-working assistant that she had trusted for years, had betrayed her like this. Throughout the encounter, Yewande had stayed very quiet, almost wanting to be invisible. Kemi turned to her best friend and said, "Can you believe this wickedness, Yewande? People I trust hating me like this, even my own family member." Before answering, something strange happened. Yewande turned to look at Auntie Bosede and their eyes locked. But Yewande said nothing. Kemi found it strange and she said again, "Yewande, what's wrong? Can you not hear me?" That was when Auntie Bosede let out a shrieking laugh. "Ha ha! Kemi, open your eyes," she said. "Your friend here is also part of us." She was the one that gave us some of the secret information we needed about your relationship with Dapo and even your personal life. She is not your friend. She is a snake. Kemi turned to Yewande, who at this point was crying and saying, "I am so sorry, Kemi. She forced me to do it." "Shut up!" Auntie Bosede said. "No one forced you to do anything. Your secret hatred of Kemi made you do it." Kemi quietly stood up and left Auntie Bosede's house, alone. She drove straight to Mama Ireti's house, and with her guidance, Kemi performed a cleansing ritual to destroy the altar and break the curse. They burned the photographs and recited prayers to banish the negative energy. As the flames consumed the shrine, Kemi felt an overwhelming sense of relief. The curse was broken. She was free. Mama Ireti advised her to attend church regularly, to be close to God, and to pray regularly, and Kemi agreed to do all that. Over the next few weeks, the headaches disappeared, her business picked up again, and her relationship with Dapo began to heal. Kemi cut all ties with Yewande and Auntie Bosede, and she fired Tola. She could not understand why Yewande told her to visit Mama Ireti even though she was part of the problem. Maybe she didn't believe that Mama Ireti would be able to help Kemi. Maybe. But if that was what she thought, she was very wrong. From then on, Kemi also took extra precautions to protect herself, avoiding people who showed signs of envy or negativity, and praying for discernment to know enemies who disguised as friends. But even now, she can't shake that feeling of betrayal. She always wonders, how many more people are smiling at me while secretly wishing me harm? I want you to ask yourself the same question. How many people are smiling at you while secretly wishing you harm? Think about it. If this story sent chills down your spine, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this one. And tell me, have you ever experienced betrayal from someone you trusted? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next story.